Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and we're going to be taking our first look at the NBA slate for this evening. First, we do have a little bit of success to talk about from last night. For those of you who were there, I mean, it was like a crazy race before lock, and then like news that came after. But somehow we were able to take down the Showtime, which is the single entry slate, with a little bit of room to spare, with six points to spare. And taking a quick look at that, we did have. I was very surprised to get low ownership on two of the guys that I was talking about, pretty much all day. That being Cam Whitmore and Zach Edey. You had to really stay on top of this news with Houston. It's, for those who remember last night, it was just coming in like the news was coming in hot, like right up until lock and a little bit after. And I barely noticed that Tari Eason was out. But that's one of the reasons why it is good to do these early looks to be prepared. So we were able to get to Cam Whitmore at less than, at 12% ownership. We did get, we did play a bunch of the Travion Queen, and he did come in pretty popular at 27%. And okay, he only had 20 fantasy points, but he did play 37 minutes. And that's really all you can ask. If you told me he was going to play 37 minutes, I didn't even think he would do that much. I did suggest that he was going to be getting full starter rotation. That's what full starter rotation looks like. So we're going to have a chance to try this again, by the way, tonight. The bit of chalk, which I did get on that did not perform well at all, was Taylor Horton Tucker. He, just didn't do anything. Eight fantasy points, but I guess the good news is he was high enough owned that pretty much everybody had him. Bobby Portis didn't really do that much, but everybody had him, so that wasn't a big deal. Trae Young did fine. Again, everybody had him. This was the one that, again, all morning and afternoon long, I was playing, and I did get to him in the single entry here. Shea with a huge slam up there at 10-3. And contrary to what I was saying earlier, I was considering playing, what's his name, LaMelo, but I'm, fortunate enough to have gotten to Shea last night. So, and the Zach Edey, he got in even in the fourth quarter when that game was long over, which didn't hurt. 21 points, 16 rebounds. It's I told you guys about this Memphis team. They're a very, very awkward team yesterday to play against. They score a lot of points with very untraditional offense. And they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough unless somebody really figures this out. Oh, you faded THC. Good job, Richie. I was not so fortunate. Okay, so that was last night, and tonight there's a $2,500 contest, paying $1 million for first that people are going to be taking shots at. So what I'm going to do tonight, by the way, is at 11 p.m., which is halftime of this last game. I'm going to go live, where I'm going to go into the lobbies and take a look at I'll look at the SaberSim live sims to see who's doing well from that perspective, and kind of take the eye test as well to see who's doing well. And listen, if it's one of us, great. But more to the point, I want to see who's doing well and see if we can analyze, see if we can predict who's going to win, and just have some fun trolling that $1 million, the $1 million first prize. And NHL is tonight too, so maybe I'll have something there to sweat as well. And I'll be looking forward to that. And as we get to this last game, you'll see that it's a particularly good night to get on at 11 p.m. to sweat, because there's going to be a lot of ownership, I think, coming from this last game. Because Golden State is going to be without Steph Curry. So I imagine that all these guys from Golden State are going to look really, really good. But you look through, like this whole slate, you get Luka out. These guys remain out. Booker remains out. Then you'll see Steph Curry's out. Ingram remains out. Jamal Murray. Oh, he's probable. So actually, it's not too bad. What's his Porzingis? Porzingis questionable. So who knows? So we'll keep an eye on that one. Cam Thomas, what's it says for him? He hasn't played, but he's questionable. He was inactive Thursday. I don't know, maybe Friday, maybe today against San Antonio. We'll take a look at that. I wouldn't play him first back off of a big month layoff or anything like that. So let's do the same thing we did yesterday. Let's just go through these kind of game by game and see what kind of looks good here. But there's a couple of teams that are really standing out. I already, buried the lead a little bit with that Golden State game, but let's just take a look. So this first game, I mean, let's consider this Travion Queen once again. Okay, Trevelin Queen. As we talked about in detail yesterday, he's been moved right into the major starting minutes, and 2 games in a row you have 34 and 37 minutes. Is he great? No, but I mean, like this is a price where you even listen. It's not the same as 3,600, so it's obviously up a little bit. But I mean, I still think that 4,300 is very viable for someone that's going to get actual starters minutes. Now he ran great the other day, basically banking home 2 threes, and then he was 0 for 3 yesterday. But still, 3 steals in both those games. He's very active, rebounds too. And he is going to be on a slate like this, I would imagine less than 5% owned. Now I'm looking at his initial projection. Remember, yesterday they couldn't give him a projection of over 20 points. And today, even though he's put in 34, 37 minutes back to back, they're still not projecting him, none of the sites really, for more than 20 points. So as a result, he's projecting less than 5x, and he's going to be 0% owned. So I think that right off the bat, I think this is I don't know why I'm so into this play, like back-to-back games, but I think I'll take a shot. I don't know. I mean, you get you off to a good start in the slate. No one's going to have it. Anybody else in this game? Not really. I'm not really seeing too much. I mean, I'm not really seeing him either, but I'm just kind of forcing this take. I guess Cat 9,600 is certainly reasonable enough. I'm pretty sure that when we get to other games, we'll get to better options. But I mean, Cat looks like the best from this whatever. What's up with Cole Anthony? Does he just suck? I mean, he's just kind of out of the rotation, right? He a couple of games ago they let him cook and he went crazy, then just disappeared again. I mean, on a slate like this, I just don't think I'm going to get there. You had De Silva. He played a ton of minutes too, right? I mean, he played 39 minutes at 4,500. Is that bad? What's wrong with that? This is legit. I mean, these types of minutes for these prices are not. I don't think they're to be fooled with. I mean, I'm gonna play. I think I'm gonna be forcing these guys in to some degree. If it means just giving them a couple extra points on the projections or just some minimum thing, this Orlando rotation I think is sticking. So I think that you're getting starters in a game that rates to be somewhat close, and that 3,500 each. Excuse me, 43, 4,500 each. I think both these guys are very reasonable. Maybe I'm just hallucinating, but we'll see. I mean, you're not going to get that on any. I don't think anybody's going to recommend these guys, but you never know. You never know. Okay, Indianapolis against Boston. Nothing. What you do have to look for is this Porzingis. So he's questionable. So if he's out, then we have to deal with that. But with any luck, we have that news relatively early. See, the thing is that you're going to get to a bunch of guys from New Orleans from Memphis you want to play later. Maybe we'll talk about Whitmore again for Houston. You'll have one play maybe from the San Antonio game, which we're going to get to. But it's not like you have to stack anything early. The big games are going to be Memphis and the Golden State, I think, later. But I think you'll have enough information where tonight isn't too hairy. Tatum, I guess, looks like a good play. What else here? What else in this game? Nothing really, So I'm probably going to be off this. Let me just see, just based on pure ceiling and upside. I mean, yeah, I suppose that Tatum should be considered. I mean, I have him second highest projected player on the slate under Jokic, although he's 10 points lower. He's pretty much tied with Wemby, and you do get triple position eligibility. Well, yeah, sort of like small forward, power forward, and forward. So, yeah, I mean, certainly good. And if Porzingis is out, that improves him a little bit. So, sure, why not? San Antonio, Brooklyn. Watch for questionables and all that stuff, but you're going to get another chance to play, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. Two guys from this game. One is, and they're both from San Antonio. One is Wemby, who as I sort of, I would say predicted, but as I suggested was a possibility, he went off on Christmas. I mean, it was just his showcase game. And he had 42 real life points en route to 83 fantasy points. And he's going to be competing with Jokic for that spend up. Now the problem is he's a full 10 points projected below him. So what that means is number one, he's going to be much lower owned, I think. And I have him like a 1% ownership projection right now. And he's still hanging out in New York. He did the Garden 25th. Went and saw the tree, I guess, yesterday. Maybe take on some Broadway shows, whatever they do. Hang out. Play one more game at Barclays Center before heading back to San Antonio. I think that he could have another big game. So if you want to take a shot at this and not play Jokic, not that you have to play either of them, but he's got this 80 in him every single game, 70s. You know what I mean? And yeah, Jokic does too. But given the ownership break, I think this is not the worst idea in the world. And the other guy who's a little scary, that's going to be popular, who projects very well, is the Devin Vassell. So this is now 1, 2, 3 games in a row where you're kind of mad that you played him. All right. So this type of thing is like annoying, because at 5,200 he's just gonna show up in a whole bunch of optimals, and as a result, I'm looking at his ownership projections like 30%. So you're gonna have to decide whether you're willing to eat that, But for now, he is showing up as a good play, and that's it from this game. I'm getting Vassell, Wemby as a very I think a very good low owned spend up, and then I'm not really getting anything on Brooklyn. All right, Minnesota and Houston. Jaden McDaniels, 4,300, looks like reasonable enough value. Now I'm not seeing. Why am I not seeing any Houstons? All right, so I think the issue with Houston is the same thing as it always is. We just don't know who's playing yet. What about Amin Thompson? Why would I not be getting? Let me see some of my projections of these Houston guys. So Amin Thompson, I'm only getting like a 25-point projection. You know what I mean? Like, it's just nothing looks great here. I guess Dylan Brooks might be expected to be back. Let's see. He's ruled out for Thursday. I don't know. Maybe he comes in for this game. And that's, I guess, because he's being projected as in. That's why all these guys are not as good as before. And then again, we're going to be looking at Tari Eason, right? He was ruled out. And then if, in fact, he's back, he might be playable. And if he's out again, then we might go back to the Cam Whitmore. I mean, he put up 27 minutes at 4,200 for him. That's going to be a very strong play. So you have to watch for this. Just have to see who's in. If you get, you know, Tari Eason and Tari Eason out again, I find it hard to not play Whitmore again. And again, as we did yesterday, we just might have to wait. Let's see. What else in that game before we move on? Van Vliet with the he just hasn't done anything. What else in Minnesota? Has Edwards done anything? Gobert, maybe. Julius Randle had a good game the other day, so I guess he's okay. I think these are all kind of second-tier-ish type plays. All right, so Memphis and New Orleans. So, yeah, as I mentioned, Memphis has been really doing it offensively, putting up points in a very non-traditional way. So it's a very, very tough matchup for anybody right now until whoever that is figures it out. And these guys on Memphis are going to look decent. So I once again have Zach Edey near the top of my point per dollar value list at 5K. And just look at look what they've been doing with him. I mean, I said this before the last game. 27-27 in 27 minutes. That seems to be pretty decent. Now again, are we going to expect this? No, but you don't need 50. I mean, give me 35. He's not going to be 1 for 8, right? It's going to be probably somewhere in the middle here. And there's this game, which is a little bizarre. He only had 6 rebounds in 27 minutes. So I think he's very, very legit. He's actually the top overall point per dollar play on the slate for me. And then you have other guys from Memphis who are showing up. You have this Jalen Wells, who he's 4K and he's in the mid-20s as far as minutes go. Very reasonable. You have Jake LaRavia at 4,100. Take a look at this. He's not exactly pushing the mid-20s, but look at what he's doing in the minutes that he's playing. I mean, it's not bad. It's just not bad. And it's certainly, if you get, what's his name, Aldama out. Is he out? He left with left ankle and he did not return. Well, that's not good. So if he's out, then that's all these guys, starting with the guy I just mentioned, with LaRavia. I mean, not to mention my least favorite, the Jaren Jackson Jr. All these big forwards are gonna pick up. So I think Edey will look good. You'll have LaRavia will look good. Jaren Jackson Jr. will look good. The guy who's always tempting to play but just never seems to put the minutes up is Morant. So I really think he's kind of limited to like 32 minutes, like maximum. And that's just not gonna. I still think that's gonna be good enough. New Orleans, I don't really see too much of New Orleans in my board at all. So I will say all those guys from Memphis I mentioned look really, really strong. But make sure that Aldama is out. That really gives you the go-ahead on those guys like LaRavia, for example. Jalen Wells as well. So, yeah, all these guys in Memphis look good. All right, so Cleveland, Denver. I mentioned earlier you have Jokic, who's very, very strong play, obviously. Okay, his most recent game, he did not exactly, tear the cover off the ball in 38 minutes at 52 fantasy points. It's actually pretty amazing when you think about it, right? He's 25 points, 15 rebounds. He only had 2 assists. See, that was the sort of outlier. I mean, if he had his normal, like at least 7 assists, for example, you had another 7.5 points, then you're back to where he's supposed to be at around 60. But I don't know. I wonder. I wonder if Wemby's just not a better play right now. I mean, Cleveland is very, Cleveland plays good defense. Not that anybody could really guard Jokic, right? But they at least pride themselves on it. I mean, let's really try to compare Jokic to Wemby here. But Brooklyn, though, they don't give an F. You know what I mean? They don't play any defense. As long as Wemby didn't get all, New Yorked up over the last couple of days, this Barclays Center appearance, I mean, this is going to be big. I don't know. But Jokic certainly projects well. He projects 10 points higher than Wemby. Am I really going to do this? Am I, at the end of the day, just going to play Wemby and just hope? We'll see. But Jokic certainly looks like a good play, as he always does. Jamal Murray is questionable, so keep an eye out on that. He himself is kind of a reasonable play. Not, I don't consider it a priority or anything like that. Before I leave this, by the way, that I did already. I left that San Antonio game. I would be remiss to not at least point out that Claxton at 5,300 looks reasonable. I have him in the top 10 as far as value goes, but that's got to be worth something. So, I mean, certainly a ridiculously tough matchup against Wemby, but that's what it is. All right, Dallas Phoenix with no Booker and no Luka. You would think that you'd want to play somebody from here. Let's just take a look. Yeah, sure. I mean, Durant, 9,300, playing all the minutes, 50 fantasy points. Is that great? No. These 60s would look good, though. So it just depends, right? Doesn't have too many 60s, but then again, he didn't have too many games without Booker. Yeah, so he looks good. What else from Phoenix? I'm not really getting down to Nurkic or anybody like that, or what's going on with Bradley Beal here. Not getting to him at 7,400, not surprised. I mean, he's been doing all right, 45, 41. That's pretty good. And then on Dallas, once again, they want to tempt me into playing this Daniel Gafford at 4,200, which is very annoying. Like, look what he did his last game. I mean, for real? Did he get hurt? I mean, what is this? We're going to have to take a look at this. So Gafford played 13 minutes. What did Lively play then after all that? Lively played 30? I guess that's it. Wow. Well, okay. It says he's questionable. I mean, if he's out, then the Gafford becomes sort of a lock, right? I mean, you can't have him starting at 4,200 and not play him. So keep an eye on this one. Pretty big news over here. For some reason, I'm not really getting to Kyrie. I mean, he's fine, actually. Yeah, all right. So Kyrie at 8,300, I think this is actually pretty reasonable. I mean, his last game, he was over 50, right? I mean, 51, 39 real-life points. This is what you'd expect with Luka not in there. So, I mean, I'll put him in my pool, so to speak. Yeah, so all right. So watch for the Lively news. If he's out, certainly play Gafford. And I think that Kyrie is going to be kind of a low-end piece. All right, so now we get to this late-night hammer game where you have Steph Curry out. And not surprisingly, all that usage is going around. The other thing, and we'll get to it, the other thing is the Trace Jackson Davis business. I was really tracking this the other day, and I mean, he played minutes. I mean, I thought he was live to play like 18 minutes the way things were going. because what happened was AD got sent to the locker room. So I think for a while they felt they didn't need him in the game, but when he was on there, he was certainly active. You know, he was going to the rim, getting alley-oops, getting rebounds or whatever. I think that when he faces some resistance at that position, I think it's going to be less appealing. And I think Zubac is kind of a tough matchup for him. That's just my opinion. I mean, Zubac himself, look at these numbers. Jeez, 50, 50, 56 in 40 minutes. Wow. But the Golden State guys, let's talk about first. All right, I have 1, 2, 3, at least 4, like 4.5 Golden State guys that I like. In order, based on at least point per dollar, we have Brandon Pudis. I forget how you pronounce it. Pazimski, whatever. Have him. Then I have Dennis Schroeder. Was he shooting guard nowadays? Do both. Schroeder, taking up more of that Steph Curry stuff. Then you have Andrew Wiggins. Then you have Trace Jackson Davis, which we'll get back to. Now, Draymond Green, it says he's questionable. Boy. So if he's out, then I think Kuminga gets a pretty big bump. I think Kuminga is probably a good play anyway. So yeah, I like all of this, like all 5 of these guys. And obviously, if Draymond is in, then he's fine also. So as I mentioned, I mean, you know, this late sweat is going to be interesting because I think people are going to have a bunch of guys in this game. And from the Clippers, I already mentioned that I think that Zubac is very reasonable here. But the 2 other guys you really can play. I mean, you can stack it up by playing Harden and also consistently underpriced Kevin Porter Jr. So you can do some serious business in this game, like if you just kind of wait and just kind of anti-sweat like everything else. Now there are, again, guys you have to decide between, you know, like you want to play Tatum, for example. You want to play Wemby, Vassell. You want to play, we'll see the injuries from the Houston game. Who else? I mean, you want to play, obviously, Wemby. I said that before. And you want to play Jokic. That's I think, the real big decision. Jokic. Oh, and by the way, I didn't even mention anybody from Cleveland because I just didn't like anybody. I'm looking again just to make sure I didn't forget something. No. So it is kind of a short pool, you know, sort of. I mean, you play any of those 5 Golden States, play those couple of Clippers. If Lively is out, you play Gafford. Kyrie is in play regardless. Phoenix, Durant's in play regardless. Ryan Dunn. Is he in play? If he plays 20 minutes, 22 minutes, is he in play? I don't know, maybe. So again, let's just do this again. 5 Golden State guys. Zubac, Harden, and Porter from here. Durant from here. If Lively's out, you have Gafford. Jokic from the Denver side. Edey, LaRavia, Jackson, especially if Aldama is out for Memphis. Houston, watch for Eason being out. You can play Whitmore. Minnesota, nothing. San Antonio, you have Vassell and Wemby to choose from. Brooklyn, if you want, you play Claxton. Boston, watch for what's his name? Kristaps being out. In either case, you could probably play Tatum. Indianapolis, nothing. In Orlando, you know, if you want, you could take shots at those two cheapos, Traveling Queen, and Tristan da Silva. So you can work with like a 25-person pool and come up with some good 20 max stuff, you know, or big buy-in stuff. Obviously, when you're playing, you know, 150 or whatever, then you got to expand your player pool. But I think it's pretty reasonable slate. We'll come back at about. Oh, do you want to say this here one here? Hold on. Tatum over Durant, fine. Dinwiddie. Let me see. You know, since you mentioned it, let me. You would think that he would look good, right? Let me see what his projection looks like. I mean, again, this could all change, but right now, I mean, not 5x projection, 25 points, 12% ownership. I guess. I suppose so. So yeah. So I'll be back at 6, and we'll talk through more of this, and you know, try to settle on something. I'm going to be doing a 1 o'clock Saturday football slate lineup build. Shouldn't take too long. We'll do that in about 15, 20 minutes. Actually, closer to 1 o'clock. Until then,